Hi, I'm Richard Watts, founder of HR Maritime. Welcome to Commodity Brief, the show all about commodity trading, in partnership with Dukascopy TV. In this episode, we're going to carry on looking at the different angles of commodity trading, and we're going to be looking at port agency. So, port agency, we're talking about port agents, also known as ship agents. So, whenever we are trading, transporting commodities around the world, we can imagine there are many thousands of vessels which are travelling around the world every single day, which are loading cargoes in one port, which are discharging cargoes in another port, and then they're taking on fuel in yet another port. And as you can imagine, in every single one of these ports, there is a need for the ship owner to order spare parts, to have repair work done, have different aspects looked after for their vessel. And so one solution could be for each and every ship owner that we have in the world to set up an office in every single port that we have around the world, which would be completely impractical. And so we find ourselves in the situation where we have ship agents, which are companies which are active in the various ports around the world, and their role is to represent the ship owner during the vessel's call in this port. And so in terms of that, they will be providing a number of different services. First of all, they will be responsible for organising the pilot, organising the tug for the vessel. If there is any medical requirement, medical assistance required by the crew, then they will organise that. If there are spare parts which are being shipped in, then they will also organise that. They will generally be responsible for everything to do with the vessel during its time in the port. They will also be coordinating with the exporters or with the importers in order to make sure that all of the cargo is smoothly loaded on board of the vessel. And so we have a number of different types of ship agents around the world. We have some ship agents which are very large multinational companies which have offices all over the world. And so some have up to 300, 400 different offices in different ports. We have some which focus on specific geographical regions. So some are based in China, for example, some are very strong in West Africa, and we also have some which are dealing only in one particular port because they have a specific political or local connection that makes them very strong in that particular port. Now, the world of ship agency is changing quite considerably at the moment because 15-20 years ago, it was quite simple. The ship owner would turn around and say, I need an agent to represent me in the port, and so he would choose a company, and that company would act for him during the time in the port. Now, more and more, we find that it is the charterer of the vessel, it's the trading company who is choosing the port agent. Often when they're discussing with their exporter or their importer, they are deciding which company they would like to be looking after the vessel, because that company is going to have to coordinate with the people handling the cargo. And so there has to be a very close cooperation, and we have to be sure that we have a company which is very good and one that we can deal with. And now, more and more, which 15 years ago would have been seen as ludicrous, but now we see more and more the charterer, the trading company, is directly paying for the fees of the ship agent. Now, that being said, it's important to understand that the ship agent remains the servant of the ship owner, and they are legally acting for the ship owner themselves. And so from a trading point of view, we look at ship agents and say, well, what can we get from ship agents? Well, if we have our vessel going into a port, for example, take Lagos. Lagos is a very good example, and this is a snapshot taken today of all the different vessels which are waiting offshore Lagos in order to go in and load or discharge cargo. So all of the small green arrows, these are individual vessels, and all of the circles, this is groupings of vessels where there are too many vessels in such a close proximity to show each one individually. At any one time, we might have up to 100 vessels waiting to go into the port of Lagos, and so our ship agent can give us a lot of information on what vessels are there, how many vessels are waiting to go in, how long we might wait in order for our vessel to go in and load or discharge our cargo. They can also give us information on movements of cargo, which vessels are actually there, which other trading companies are loading or discharging, and there are some very good agents which will send out weekly reports on what vessels have loaded, what cargoes have loaded, what quantities they've loaded, so we can really build up an image of what's going on in the port. So in terms of the ship agents themselves, we need to be very, very friendly with them. We need to be very close to them because they can provide us with an incredible amount of information. They can tell us who's doing what, they can tell us why people are doing things, they can tell us the volumes that are moving, the different commodities, changes that have happened, changes in legislation, changes in tariff, and so we want them to be telling us this as soon as possible, and when the vessel is in the port, they are going to be looking after that vessel and they're going to be making sure that everything runs very smoothly, very efficiently, and if anything goes wrong, they should be calling us immediately. And that's why we need to be very, very careful when we're dealing with ship agents. Often we have a tendency of trying to negotiate down their fees. They might be charging $2,000, $3,000 for one call. And we have this tendency, seeing them as an easy target and saying, well, let's try and reduce their fees and try and bring it down by a couple of $100s. The problem is that when they're actually doing their job very, very well, they can be saving us many, many, many thousands of dollars. And so if we skimp on the amount we're paying them, then something might happen at 3 o'clock in the morning and they say, well, I'll wait until tomorrow morning. But if you have a good relationship with them, if they are being paid well for their job, then they will call you immediately. You may save yourself 12 hours and prices of vessels today, that could be $15,000 saved. So that brings us to the end of this episode looking at ship agents or port agents. And so this has been Dukescopy. It's been Commodity Brief in partnership with Dukescopy TV, and we hope that you click back for more episodes. Thank you.